Welcome! In the following presentation, we will be discussing the erosion in the coastal areas of Puerto Rico, done by me, Nicole Garcia, and my two fellow classmates, Anguelique Matos and Dalitzia Marquez. Puerto Rico is a small island in the Caribbean Sea. It is most known for its beautiful, clear, and sandy beaches. But in the last decade, scientists have noticed a significant erosion of the coast. For this reason, in this presentation, we are going to talk about the disappearance of the beach coast in the island of Puerto Rico. I will be providing and explaining a primary research that involves an observation process that was made in the coast of Rincon after Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico on September 2017. With this observation done, Anguelique and Dalitzia will be able to explain in depth the reason why the coasts in the beaches are disappearing and provide evidence of why this is happening to our beaches. At last, I will be presenting some of the consequences of this coastal erosion. The primary observation was done in a beach in Rincon, Puerto Rico called Maria's Beach. Rincon is a very famous town because of these beautiful beaches. We were able to see that the beach was very clean. There were no trash, considering that there were trash barrels all over the beach. There were no algae in the verde area nor in the coast, and the sargassum was absent. We could see that the strength of the wave was strong, but perfect for surfers. That is why it is a very popular beach among the ones that practice this sport. Because of the strong wave, it is not recommendable for swimmers. However, it is very significant that the coast in this beach is disappearing. To get from your car to the actual water is a minimum of 20 steps. There are approximately 5 feet of width of sand as a coast, which is very little compared to the other beaches in the island. In the picture, you can appreciate the width of the coast and the cleanness of it. We can observe that due to the strong wave, the friction of the coast is large and can explain the erosion of the coast. Before anything, we need to know what are the beaches and what is erosion. The beaches are an accumulation of unconcealed materials in the coast, and it adheres to the action of the waves, current, wind, and tides. The erosion is aware of the surface of a body due to the friction of another body. Now, coastal erosion is the erosion in the coast of the beach. Normally, this erosion is caused by the friction of the waves and tides in the beaches. The coastal erosion can be caused by natural causes in which nature does all the damage, or anthropic causes where the man is guilty of it.
Here we have the natural causes of erosion. I'm going to start by defining what natural causes of erosion is, which is it causes the soil surface to wear out and is naturally caused by water, wind, or gravity. As an example, we first have promontory causes, which is a sandy coastline that is interrupted by rocky coastline. What I mean by this is when there is a slide of mountains placed on the coast, the rocks then fall on the coast, and as time goes by, the entire coast ends up covered with the remains of the landslide. Then the waves of the sea hit the mountains directly and eventually causes the coastal erosion. In this photo, we have an example of a promontory cause, which is a landslide that occurred on a beach. We can see here the effect of the coastal erosion that is caused naturally due to the constant movement of the water that caused the edge of the mountain to wear out, and now the water is hitting the mountain directly, affecting the coast. As a second example, we have hurricanes and cyclones, which flatten the beaches and destroys the vegetation. We can see this effect after the pass of Hurricane Maria through the island. This caused our beaches to become narrower and lower in elevation. This also caused our beaches to become flattered. It destroyed the vegetation on the beaches, and it also killed the living creatures of the water. In the first photo, we can see an example of how a hurricane looks like, and then on the second one, we can see the effect of Hurricane Maria that affected the crash boat beach in Aguadilla. We can notice that the vegetation is completely gone. The tree, you can see it, that is completely dry out of leaves, and that the remains of some other trees that were completely destroyed are affecting the sand and the ground of the coast. As a third example, we have floods, which occur because of large periods of rain. Since they are caused by a large amount of rain, then because of this, the sea level rises, causing the area to be composed primarily of clay and silt. These cannot be retained in the coastal strips due to the energy of the waves that impede its deposit, causing the erosion on the coast. Here we have some images that prove as an example of the effect that some floods have. In the first and second photo, we can see the floods that affected some areas in Puerto Rico after the pass of Maria. The huge amount of water presented on these photos caused a lot of problems to our coasts, making them to erode. As the fourth example of natural causes of erosion, we have tectonic activities, which is Earth's outer shell glides over the mantle. When the shell glides over the mantle, its movement eventually, depending on the intensity of it, it can cause an earthquake. And with the earthquake, depending on how strong it is, it can cause the sea level to rise aggressively. This is what we then call a tsunami. Then the tsunami affects the coast in the process, and it also destroys everything that is on its way. In this photo, we can see a demonstration of an example of a tectonic activity that would be an earthquake, as mentioned before, and the effect of it would be a tsunami. And as we can see, it's affecting a lot the coast by the aggressive movement of the water towards it. By the fifth and last natural cause of erosion, we have underground slips, which are landslides that occur on the edge and then the mass disappears. When this landslide occurs at the edge of the continental shelf, or at least near the coastlines, what it can happen is that the mass from the coast disappears suddenly, causing then the coast to erode. We then have this image that is an example of an underground slip that would be a submarine landslide. On this image, we can notice the damage that this underground slip is causing to this community by the excessiveness of the water that is then destroying the coast, making it quickly to erode and eventually disappear, or it could be immediately, depending on the intensity of that underground slip.
Anthropic causes of erosion. Anthropic means of or relating to human beings on the period of their existence on Earth. The anthropic erosion is the erosion caused by the activity of the human beings. In general, soil erosion is a natural process that is linked to the dynamics of evolution of the planet. Subsidence of the soil due to the extraction of liquids. When liquids are extracted from the subsoil by means of pumping wells, subsidence of the surface soils occur, while during the extraction of liquids, the aquifers will decrease their volume due to their compaction. This looks similar to the sandy coastlines, the difference here being that this is caused by actions taken by human beings. Sea elevation due to the global warming. According to NASA, global warming refers to the upward temperature trend across the entire Earth since the early 20th century, and most notably since the late 1970s, due to the increase in fossil fuel emissions since the Industrial Revolution. The ice and glaciers from the poles melt due to the rising heat that emerges from the sun. According to the National Ocean Service, a warming climate can cause seawater to expand and Iceland to melt, both of which can cause an rise on the sea level. Damming rivers. Due to the energy demand, the water and sediments loaded are transported and accumulated into dams. Positive benefits of dams: the generation of hydropower, increased industrial activities, increase in agricultural land, as well as crop intensification and diversification. But at the same time, it causes physical impacts such as changes in the level, velocity, and discharge of the flow in the rivers, both upstream and downstream of the dam, changes in soil salinity and waterlogging, erosion of the riverbanks, beds and deltas, sedimentation in the river. It also causes biological impacts, changes in flora and fauna, implications for fish production. However, it is claimed by some researchers that stable conditions have been achieved and erosion has almost stopped. Modification of coastline by construction of breakwaters at the mouths of the rivers. A breakwater is a structure used for protection near coasts or bodies of water to protect from weather or longshore drifts. This protects the navigation canal inside the rivers. They represent obstacles to the literal flow of sediments, which do not pass to the other side of the river, where erosion will occur. Ports located at the mouth of a river in a sea are subject to tides and coastal currents. In this case, the breakwater of protection against the incidental waves should not impede the river flow, so they are built in order to prolong the bed of this one. The entry of the port, therefore, consists of two parallel breakwaters, generally built perpendicularly to the coast, as shown in the illustration below. Consequently, by refraction around the work, the coast is attacked hard by the waves downstream it, and there is a greater erosion due to the fact that the sediments transported downstream by the coastal current are not compensated by a contribution upstream, this one being blocked by the breakwater. Pipe construction. Just as the breakwater, this has the same effect, in the sense that they are also obstructing the flow of the water in these bodies. This is commonly seen in farming and construction sites. While there are many environmental challenges on a pipeline project, this can be mitigated through proper routine selection. Soil erosion is a large product of the installation method used for pipelines. This can only be minimalized through the use of the correct erosion control methods. Although soil loss is a natural process, it is greatly increased by the anthropogenic activity impacting on land management practices such as farming and construction.
With all of this erosion, we, as humans, will suffer the consequences of it. There are many consequences of this coastal erosion, but we are going to discuss the most important to the Isle of Puerto Rico. As the sand is lost, the beach loses the capacity to absorb and cushion the next events. This means that the more coastal erosion, the more sand is lost and is unable to absorb the impact and protect inland areas from high energy storms and act as a resilient barrier to the destructive forces of the wind and waves. The erosion can impact the human life to the economic and social and political problems. As an island that sustains itself in agriculture, fisheries, navigation and shipping and recreation tourism, the coastal erosion can impact and affect these economic sectors, making more losses than win. And if there is no agriculture, fisheries, nor shipping, it can cause a lack of the primary necessities of the country, like food, clothes, medication, and so on, making the people desperate and causing social problems. And then the politicians will fight each other on who has the better solution to solve the issue. All of this will create a cycle of problems and no solutions. It can cause the destruction of mangrove. The process of erosion destroys the mangroves that serve as filter for sediments and nutrients, helping to maintain the water quality. There are protection areas for the coast against tides. They also functions as nursery for numerous and valuable marine species. No mangrove, no sea life.
To help prevent erosion, there have been some precautionary measures that have been used to avoid it. The first one being land capability. Soil erosion can be avoided by using land within its capability. The land's position, soil type, and slope determine how vulnerable it will be to erosion. It may not be suitable for agriculture or suitable only for an activity which limits erosion. Using land according to its capability, the steeper slopes and shallower soils suitable for growing pastures, and the lower slopes and deeper soils suitable for growing crops. Secondly, we have surface cover and runoff. Surface cover is a major factor to control erosion because it reduces the impact of raindrops falling on bare soils and wind removing soil particles. It also reduces the speed of water flowing over the land. Erosion risk is significantly reduced when there is more than 30% soil cover. Total cover is achievable for many grazing and cropping systems. Runoff concentrates as it flows downslope. By the time rivers draining large catchment reach the coast, they are usually just a few hundred meters wide. Even though surface cover encourages runoff to spread, runoff concentration is inevitable. Some methods of surface cover and runoff include trees. Trees are often considered to be the universal answer to control soil erosion. Tree roots help prevent landslides on steep slopes and stream bank erosion, but they don't stop erosion on moderately sloping hill slopes. In forests, the soil surface is usually protected by a layer of mulch from the decaying vegetation, as well as a variety of surface-growing plants. If the soil is bare under the tree canopy from overgrazing vehicles or pedestrians, soil erosion will still occur.
As the second and third way to prevent erosion, we have strip cropping and contour banks. Runoff concentration is managed by structural measures such as contour banks in upland areas or strip croppings on floodplains. These systems involve a total change in the way the farming is managed. These runoff systems must be carefully planned. The flow between properties and across roads and railway lines must be coordinated and suit those affected by the changes. The banks channel the runoff at low speed into grass waterways. Good surface cover between contour banks and in waterways will ensure their stability and dramatically reduce the amount of soil deposited in waterways. On flood plains, strip cropping is used to spread flood flows rather than allowing it to concentrate.
These are all the references used in this presentation. If you want to know more about this problem in our shores, you can check them out. Thanks so much for watching, and we hope that you learned some things about the coastal erosion in the shores of Puerto Rico.